So here we have a graphic that is spread over the fender and the hood of the car. We can see a few lines where we're going to have to trim along the hood here, around the wheel well, and at the back of the hood. And as you can see, in most of these areas there's some tension involved. And it's very difficult to get a clean cut along an area with tension, where the vinyl is trying to pull away from the edge of the hood. It's important, though, of course, to get a perfectly straight cut in these areas, or to follow the body line perfectly, because this vinyl is going to fall down underneath the hood, and you're going to you'll be able to see that line. So it's very important to make it perfectly straight, but we don't want to just run our knife, of course, on the paint, because we'll be cutting into the car paint. So we're going to want to use the bottom edge of this hood. Also down here around the wheel well, you can see that there's quite a bit of tension bunched up in some of the areas. As we applied the vinyl over the curve, there were some areas of tension. So we're going to need to get rid of that tension before we make our cut. If we don't, what will happen is that the cut will be very jagged and ugly. We're going to then, of course, have to recut again on the paint of the vehicle. We don't want to do that. So we're going to look at a couple of tips, tricks of the trade, to get around that. And again, up here, same thing. There's a lot of tension pulling right here. We're going to look at how we can dissipate that tension before we make the final cut. Okay, so we'll make the first trim along this edge of the hood. And one way, because of the tension here, it's very difficult to run your knife along this edge, because the tension varies. It gets a little bit wider, a little bit thinner along the edge of the application. So a little tip that I have for you is just to put your knife here and hold your squeegee up against it, and then move along the edge of the hood. Come back with your squeegee, and you can do the final set of the application. And as you can see, this line, it's nice and straight. The vinyl is tucked right up and actually underneath the hood just a little bit, to get the vinyl out of the wind shear of the vehicle as you're moving forward. Now for the next part of the trim, we've come along the edge of the hood. We have that finished on the sides, but now for the back side. And you can see that there's some tension in the application right in this area. Try first of all to neutralize the tension just by stretching the vinyl over a little bit and tacking it onto the windshield. This does give us a fairly straight edge, but you can see a little bit of tension still in here. Bringing your knife along that edge could result in a bit of a bumpy cut. So my suggestion here would be to bring your heat source along this edge, heat it gently, and then immediately put a little bit of tension, and then just run your squeegee along that edge. And what that will do is move the tension away from the edge onto the vinyl. So right along this edge of the hood, you have a very clean application. When you run your knife along that edge, you will also have a very clean cut. You can see the vinyl is falling away very smoothly, which shows that there are no bumps in the cut. You can bring that trim all the way around this edge. Another nice thing about this, doing an application this way, is that by warming the vinyl, pushing it down with the squeegee a little bit, it rolls the vinyl around the back of the hood just enough, again, to get it out of the slipstream as the car moves forward. Coming from the hood onto the side of the car can be a little bit tricky because the planes are different. The hood is sticking out a little bit further than the side of the car, yet we have to make this line continuous. So again, we'll use our squeegee to push the vinyl down, but I'm going to just start the cut here first to keep it straight. Then I'll find the edge of the body and do the same trick we did on the hood, where we will just let the knife, the squeegee, force the knife to stay right up along the edge of the hood of the car, off the fender, to make that a nice clean cut. And now we can finish that application off on the bottom. And the top. And you might notice that we didn't quite cut all the way through the vinyl here, and that's a good thing, because that means we're not cutting into the paint. So we'll just very gently again just finish that cut and lift the vinyl and pull it apart. and finish off the application.